Do you see the story of Noah as a type of the atonement? And if so, can you speak on that? Yes. So what happens with the atonement? The Day of Atonement is the purification of creation. So the high priest, he sprinkles 7 times every part of the tabernacle. The tabernacle is a miniature representation of the creation. Creation is the heaven of heavens, the heavens, and the earth. The tabernacle is the Holy of Holies, the holy place, and the courtyard. And so when the high priest, who is a representative of the God of Israel, that's why he's clothed in bright garments, that's why he wears a crown which says holy to the Lord. The high priest is a representative of the God of Israel as well as a representative of Israel, i.e. God will become an Israelite in the person of Jesus. And what he does is he ascends. He takes a censer and he moves inward. And as inward as upward, that as you go closer and closer to the Holy of Holies, symbolically you're moving up closer and closer to heaven, so inwards is upwards, and he's taking this censer. So what's happening with the censer? A bunch of clouds around him, a cloud of incense. So you read about the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven, coming to the throne of God. That is a visionary form, a visionary exegesis of the Day of Atonement. So what is happening on the Day of Atonement? He's purifying creation. How? With blood. Well, the tabernacle is a miniature representation of the world. What's happening in the ark? Well, the ark is also a miniature representation of the world. Just as the tabernacle has 3 stories, so also does the ark have 3 stories. God says that. Just as the tabernacle was given with exact dimensions and specifications, so also is the ark given with exact dimensions and specifications. And Noah is the high priest. Noah symbolizes the high priest. He offers a representative of all the clean animals after the flood. And he offers them as an ascension offering. The idea being you ascend into God's presence with all of the creation with you. So what happened in the flood? Well, what happens in the flood is the heavens open up. So the presence of God rains out. That's the symbol. Noah covers the ark. Now the word for covering here is actually very closely related to the word for atonement in Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur, Day of Covering. So Noah builds a miniature representation of the world, a sanctuary. He builds a sacred space, and in fact, he builds the creation into the sacred space. And then what happens is God opens heaven, and the presence of God falls out. It sprinkles the covering. And then what happens? The ark goes upward. It goes up to the top of the mountain. And then Noah removes the covering. So, when heaven opens and sprinkles heaven on the covering, that is like the linking together of heaven and our world. So you see this in its most primordial state in Genesis 1, where God divides the water from the water, and in the midst of the water. So this point of separation, God names it heaven. And a name communicates equality, and to name the midst heaven is to make the separation a point of communication. That's what's going on when the water from heaven sprinkles the covering. The covering separates, but now the covering communicates. And so as a consequence, at the end of the flood, it says Noah removed the covering from the ark. So why are we told that? Of course he removed the covering from the ark. We are told that because the covering of the ark signifies the waters above the heavens. The waters above the heavens are the waters above the lower heaven, okay? But they're waters under the upper heaven. So what am I talking about? Well, the upper heaven is where God lives. Then there's water. And then there's the sun, moon, stars. So big here. Now, people think this is implausible because, well, there are so many stars. It's so much bigger than they thought in the ancient world. Well, first of all, in the ancient world, Ptolemy says that the heavens are in relation to the space of Earth. The Earth is just a mathematical point. So the heavens are huge. Well, think about it this way. The first heaven is the air. That's what's under the moon. And then you have the second heaven. That's the place where the sun, moon, and stars is. Second heaven is much bigger than the first heaven. But the same is true of the relation of the second heaven to the third heaven. Because the third heaven is God's space. And that's much huger. It's massive compared to the second heaven. So actually, you have a pretty consistent relation. The first heaven, that is the air under the moon all the way down to the ground, that is pretty big. I mean, there's a lot of space here. And then the space between the moon and the outer edge of the creation, which is the waters above the heavens, much bigger than the first heaven. And then the same is true in terms of the relation between the second heaven and the third heaven. If you enjoy this content, please consider supporting this channel as a patron or paid Substack subscriber. I post reflections on Scripture 6 days a week, and 3 of these posts are exclusive to those who are patrons or paid subscribers on Substack at $5 per month. At $10 per month, patrons have access both to all of my written content as well as to weekly exclusive videos of about a half hour per week. At $30 per month, patrons have access to all of the preceding as well as a weekly class on the Old Testament of about an hour to an hour and a half each. Finally, at $35 per month, patrons receive access to all of my written and recorded exclusive content, as well as the ability to schedule monthly calls of 1 hour every month as long as you remain a patron at this level. You can also access these benefits through channel memberships on YouTube. Please also consider purchasing my lecture sets, Answering Protestantism from the Bible, 17 hours, and Answering Calvinism from the Bible, 6.5 hours. These can be purchased either individually or together for a discount. All links are in the description box and pinned comment. Your support, both financially and especially through your daily prayers, is what enables me to produce regular, high quality, and original content. Thank you so much.